morning. Sometimes I find myself just weary, wanting to just curl up and hide away from the world. I feel tired and just drained. And sometimes it's got something to do with lack of sleep or whatever, or physical exertion, but usually not. It's something deeper. It's a weariness of the being, of the soul, of the spirit. I feel drained from within. Maybe it's all the busyness and activity of life, all the things that come, the emails and messages and the work lists to do and just living life. Of all the expectations and that are subconsciously imposed on you in social media streams, in movies, in just being part of this culture and world in which we live. Sometimes it just builds up. Sometimes it's the looping of news feeds, of the same news yesterday, today and tomorrow. Bombs and missiles and wars, of violence in the streets or in homes. The crisis of the earth and its warming. And the constant messages that come. And I feel helpless and powerless to change all that. And it weighs down. And I want to hide. We live in a world that's filled with activity and the pressure to do more, to change and evolve and move with the times and get with it and constantly keep up. Keep up with what I don't know, but keep up. And it becomes draining. And I kind of lose myself, my soul, my being, and I don't quite know where I am or what's going on. It reminds me of a story I once read of some Aboriginal men and some white fellas journeying together in some cars to a place some distance away. And the Aboriginal men were leading the driving, the directions. And every, 100 k's or so, maybe less, they would stop. They would get out of their car, they'd walk around, they'd sit in a circle, tell a few stories, talk, get back in the car and keep driving. And after this happened a few times, the white fella's saying, look, what are we doing? We could have been there hours ago. Why do we keep stopping? And the Aboriginal men looked around and confused and said, but we're letting our spirits catch up to our bodies. And I thought of that often. I think there's something in that there seems to me this need for my spirit to catch up with my body. My being, I'm running around in circles, maybe not physically, but my mind, and I need to stop and let my spirit catch up. I need to find the place where I can be renewed and restored and focused. Instead of running here and there and looking at this and getting messages from all over the place, to just have a gentle and quiet space. I yearn for that deep quietness, and I need to stop to find it. This week I've been wrestling with a story from Luke's story of Jesus. It's a simple story that's told in different places of two sisters. Jesus and his entourage, we don't know how many, whether it's just the disciples, a few of the disciples and others, they enter a village and then they go into the house of two women, Martha, it seems to be her house, and Mary, her sister. And Martha seems to be the head of the house and she's in charge of hospitality. These stories around chapter 10 in Luke's story are around hospitality and the importance and the radical nature of hospitality in God's reign. But it's also a deeply cultural thing, hospitality. It's a sacred thing. Giving hospitality to the stranger and the visitor, the sojourner in the land, to invite them into your home and to feed them and put them up for the night. And so Martha is running around doing the work of hospitality, this sacred work, which too often falls to the women. It's women's sacred work. Meanwhile, Mary, her sister, sits at Jesus' feet and listens to him talking, teaching. In this culture, what Mary does is quite a radical divergence from the norm. Women aren't supposed to sit and listen to men. They're supposed to be doing the work of hospitality, the work of the household. They don't need to learn anymore, because once they've learned what it means to be a wife and a mother and the woman of the household and provide the hospitality, their learning is done. That's their work. Very patriarchal. And it doesn't make sense to our modern ears. But that's how it was. But Mary sits at Jesus' feet. And as Martha goes about the work of preparing food and beds and whatever else she's doing, she grows more deeply angry and frustrated that Mary's over there with the men, doing the wrong thing but not helping her. You can imagine her building the pots and pans in the kitchen, trying to draw attention to herself, rattling the beds and the cupboards and whatever else, but to no avail. Finally, she just rushes into where the men are and marches up to Jesus and says, "Lord, Master, tell my sister," you can imagine, my lazy, good-for-nothing sister who's doing the wrong thing, tell her to get back in her place to where she should be and come and help me. I'm doing all this by myself, and she's sitting there listening to you. There's a whole lot of subtle undertones here that I guess in our culture we don't get, but are there, and various commentators try and bring out. But Jesus' response, he should be upset with her, because you don't treat a visitor like that. That's not hospitable, to draw him into the conflicts. But he doesn't flinch. He simply says, "Martha, Martha." And it's interesting that he calls Mary and Martha by their names. In this story, these women have names, Martha and Mary. It's very unusual. Normally, women are described as the woman who, there's a descriptor around her, or a woman, the mother of, the sister of, the wife of. Like Mary, the mother of Jesus, for example. These are Martha and Mary. And he says to her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried, distracted, and bothered by many things. But Mary has chosen the one good thing, and she won't lose it." I've flicked through different commentators and people to try and make sense of this. And it's interesting that the divergent views and the ways that different people read this. Just sitting with it and hearing different things in our different times and our cultures. And I invite you to sit with it and work out for yourself, what is this saying? But as I read it and wrestled with it this week, in the light of that tiredness and the weariness I often feel, in a world that is filled with activity and proving yourself and being a performance society, trying to be an authentic person by doing all the right things, ticking all the right boxes, getting the most retweets or likes or shares or whatever it is on social media. In a world that ramps up the pace of life and pushes us and drives us on. What I heard in this story is, Jeff, you're bothered and distracted and worried about many things. Mary has done the one good thing, and I wonder what the one good thing for me is. To sit quietly in this presence of the Christ, this presence of Spirit, this presence of God. To sit and listen. To sit and let my spirit quieten down. To sit and look at the flowers and smell the roses. To sit and have a coffee and have a coffee while I'm having the coffee, not distracted doing other things. To taste it, to smell it, to go for a walk and experience the warmth of the sun or the breeze, or look at the trees and the flowers and wave to the people. Maybe it's to sit with a story and read it and engage with it. Engage in the stories of people's lives where there's hope and peace and life and joy. Maybe it's to sit and listen to some music that inspires and lifts, that doesn't create lots of tension but calms me and quietens my spirit and lets me just be. I think the one good thing is to stop and listen to this voice of God that comes. It comes in a multitude of ways and at times, but a voice that's gentle and quiet that I often miss, but is always there. And if I stop, and if I listen, I might hear it. Now, what is the one good thing for you in the midst of this busy and stressful and life it's sometimes chaotic and sometimes wonderful, but often driven and busy and filled with things? What is the one good thing for you that you will do that will give you life and that will help you to be a source of life and hope and light in a world that needs peace and hope and joy? What is it you'll do this week